The text message came in just as I raised my glass. "You're fired." And that was only the beginning. The chandelier above me sparkled like it had something to prove. Hundreds of crystal cuts reflecting a light show no one noticed, except me. I had arranged the lighting myself. Of course I had. 12 years. That's how long I'd carried this company on my back, through acquisitions, disasters, a near bankruptcy, 2 CEOs, and a merger that nearly killed us. And now I was here, in a black tuxedo, standing in front of a ballroom full of board members, donors, and shareholders. The culmination. The night we were supposed to finally look legitimate, and I'd done it all. The caterer bailed last minute. I replaced them in 6 hours. The venue lost power during rehearsals. I rerouted the grid. One of the keynotes got COVID. I wrote the speech myself and had it delivered via hologram. They called me the glue. I hated that word. Glue is silent, disposable, invisible. The room was alive with laughter and glass clinking. People toasted to a future they didn't build. The CEO, Robert Lang, stood at the center, soaking up credit for things he barely understood. Last week he was in Tuscany while I was negotiating down a shipping strike. I stood to the side, half listening, when my phone buzzed. "You're fired, effective immediately. Let's not make a scene." I blinked, laughed a little, honestly. I thought it was a joke, but then I saw the timestamp, and the sender, Robert. No reason, no call, just that, like I was a bad date. I stared at the screen. The ballroom spun a little. I felt the weight of the room shift, something in my chest. Settled. It wasn't heartbreak. It was clarity. I looked around. No one knew yet. Not the photographer walking toward me, not the intern nervously adjusting the floral arrangements, not the CFO in the corner raising a toast using my lines from the speech I ghostwrote for him. The mic was open. The donors were seated. I walked up to the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began. My voice was calm. I don't remember planning to speak, but it came out like I'd rehearsed it. "I'd like to make a toast to those who build in the shadows, to the glue, the grinders, the ones who make sure the lights stay on, and most importantly," I paused, "to the ones who get fired without warning, during the very event they organized." A stunned silence. One laugh, short, awkward. I held up my phone. "Text message, came in 10 minutes ago. I'm no longer with the company." A ripple. Someone gasped. Another laugh, nervous this time. I nodded, placed the mic down, and walked off stage. No drama, no yelling, just facts. I didn't look for Robert. I didn't need to. As I left the ballroom, someone followed me. Older man. Thin silver hair, custom suit that cost more than my rent. "I'm Mark Ellison," he said. "Ever heard of Halstead Capital?" I nodded. They'd tried to buy us 3 times. "I watched you work tonight. Watched the room. Watched you," he said. "Congratulations," I said, walking. He kept up. "Lang didn't fire you because you're incompetent. He fired you because you're a threat." I stopped. "You know something," I said. "I do, and I think you do too. He's not just cleaning house, he's laundering the floor." I looked at him. He handed me a card. "When you're ready to talk, I don't need revenge, I need reconstruction." I didn't shake his hand, just took the card. Then I turned back one last time. The ballroom looked different now, smaller. I wasn't falling, I was waking up. I didn't sleep that night, not because of the shock. That wore off fast. It was something sharper, like my mind was too clear. Every pattern I'd ignored, every small silence, every unfinished sentence in meetings started flashing like exit signs I never took. At 3:12 a.m., I pulled up the last 12 months of internal financial memos from the cloud. I wasn't supposed to have access anymore. But the system lagged on permissions. Typical. I didn't go hunting. I just followed the noise. Vendor discrepancies, internal fund transfers, a few asset shifts that weren't recorded properly. But one memo stuck out: asset liquidation contingency. Phase 2, Q4 realignment. Phase 2, I'd never seen Phase 1. There was no mention of it in operations, only in executive-level folders, hidden, deliberate. I poured a drink, sat down, and reread it 3 times. Lang was preparing to sell off assets we'd built, the warehouse systems, the East Coast distribution centers, the logistics AI prototype I personally helped design. Everything that worked. And he was doing it quietly, one step at a time, stripping the engine and calling it optimization. The gala wasn't a celebration, it was a distraction, and I'd been the centerpiece. At 8 Omar, I walked into the office. Not my office. They'd already deactivated my badge, but security still recognized me. "You're not on the list today," the guard said gently. "I won't be long," I replied. Upstairs, everything was too quiet. The post-event calm, the kind that usually felt earned. Today it was rotten. I went to the storage room, used the master key I wasn't supposed to have, retrieved my files, my backup drives, and a copy of the presentation I'd made for the board, the one Lang had shelved because it didn't align with the brand voice. On my way out, I passed 3 interns. None met my eye. Outside, sunlight hit me like judgment. I checked my phone. A message from Mark Ellison. Lunch? Noon. Le Bernardin. Of course. Le Bernardin. I almost replied too obvious, but instead I just typed, "I'll be there." When I arrived, he was already seated. White tablecloths, stemmed water, a silence that was too clean. "You brought it, I assume," he said without looking up from the menu. "I brought a copy," I replied. "Even better." He closed the menu, finally met my eyes. "Lang is shopping your tech to 3 buyers," he said. 1 in Germany, 2 in California. The terms are confidential, unless someone with first-hand knowledge were to expose them. "You want to use me?" I said. "No," he said. "I want to hire you." I raised an eyebrow. "Not as a martyr, as a strategist. You built the thing that made your company valuable. Lang's stripping it for parts. I want you to rebuild it, with resources, with autonomy. Without someone above you thinking you're a threat." I didn't respond. He leaned in. "We'll start with a consulting contract. You'll have your own team. We'll go quiet. Then we'll go wide." I studied him. He didn't blink. "You're offering me revenge," I said. "I'm offering you scale," he corrected. That word landed differently. I didn't agree. Not yet. But I left the restaurant knowing one thing for sure. Lang hadn't ended anything. He'd just turned the page. And I was about to write the next chapter. The next 48 hours were quiet. Too quiet. Lang hadn't made a statement, no internal email, no press leak. He was waiting me out, pretending nothing happened, assuming I'd vanish like an embarrassing glitch. But I don't vanish. I operate. By Monday, I had a temporary setup in a WeWork downtown. Basic, minimal. Just my laptop, a burner phone, and the copy of the Phase 2 document sitting in a cold white folder with no label. Mark's legal team had already reviewed it. "Technically vague," his lawyer said, "but paired with the right evidence. This is a roadmap to corporate fraud." Still, I needed more, and I knew exactly where to look. Nicole, she'd been my assistant for 7 years. Brilliant. Underpaid. The only one who saw the machine from inside. The only one who knew how Lang's schedule never aligned with reality. How invoices disappeared for clarity. How internal budgets always bloated right before a board report. I called her from the burner. She answered on the second ring. "I was waiting for this," she said. "Are you safe?" "For now." "You're still there?" "I'm packing my desk slowly. Thought you might need a few things." Pause. "There's a folder on my drive called Storm Cellar, passwords the day we almost cancelled the warehouse launch." "September 12th, I said without hesitation. "Yeah, go in, take what you need, but do it now. They're wiping systems." She hung up. I accessed it immediately. Invoices, screenshots, Lang's personal calendar overlapping with third-party meetings, all while he claimed to be out of town. Payments sent to dummy vendors, slide decks edited after approvals. One folder labeled Foundry Pre-Market. That was the smoking gun. Foundry was the AI logistics platform I'd designed, never launched. Lang was already pitching it under his name. He was prepping a private sale of IP that legally belonged to the company. And he hadn't just erased me, he'd renamed the work. My work. That night I met Mark again. Not at Le Bernardin this time. His office, top floor, glass everything, the kind of room built to make people feel small. But I didn't feel small. I laid the folder down on the table. Everything you need is in here. We have time-stamped evidence, witness testimony, file trails. He's not just selling assets, he's stealing future value. Mark opened the folder, smiled. Then we go quiet. For now. No, I said. We go strategic. He nodded slowly. You're ready to burn it down? I shook my head. I'm ready to rebuild. But first, I need something from you. What? Visibility. When this hits, I don't want to be the anonymous leak. I want the board to see exactly who he tried to erase. Mark tilted his head. You want back in? I want higher. He considered it. Done. I left the building lighter than I'd felt in months. The weight wasn't gone, but now it had a direction, and Lang. He had no idea the storm he'd just invited. Lang finally spoke. A polished press release hit the wires on Wednesday morning. We thank our former VP of Operations for his years of service. We're entering a new chapter of innovation and transformation. No mention of firing me by text, no explanation of the new chapter. Just spin, pure clinical PR spin. It made headlines. It was meant to. Leadership shift signals growth, said one outlet. Another called it streamlining. No one asked questions. No one ever does, not until you make them. So I did. I sent the Foundry files to 2 journalists, not anonymously. I included my name, my former title, my contact info, and one line. This was not innovation. It was extraction. 12 hours later, the first article dropped. Then the second. Then the phones started ringing. The next day, the company's stock dipped. Not a crash, yet, but enough to rattle a few desks. Lang went silent. His Twitter account disappeared. His LinkedIn status changed to restructuring. Internally, I'm told, emergency meetings filled the calendar. Legal scrambled. HR panicked. And then the board called. Not me. Mark. They wanted a meeting. So he gave them one. Friday. Private. No press. Just 12 people in a room full of panic and thin smiles. Mark opened with numbers. Hard, cold, painful. Projected losses if Foundry was sold off under current terms. Potential liabilities tied to undeclared transactions. Operational gaps created after my termination. Then he said, "You removed the wrong man, and now we intend to correct that." He didn't look at Lang once. Then he pulled out the proposal, my proposal. Rebranded, sharpened with a new letterhead. Halstead Logistics Intelligence. A joint venture, backed by Halstead Capital. Run by me. The room went still. Mark continued, "We're not asking for a seat at the table. We're offering to rebuild the table and sell you a better one." Then he introduced me. I stepped into the room. Calm, neutral. No rage, just structure. Lang turned pale. I could see it from across the table. I laid out my vision. Clean, scalable, auditable, no emotion. Just precision. When I finished, no one applauded. But no one interrupted. Lang finally spoke. "You think this is a power play?" I met his eyes. "No, this is clarity." He stood up, left the room. No one followed. When the doors closed behind him, the chairman turned to me. "We'd like to proceed, under your leadership." Not a handshake, a document. I signed it, steady, simple. Lang had fired me in 10 words. I had just replaced him with a pen. The news broke Monday morning. Robert Lang steps down amidst internal restructuring. That was the headline. Polite, sterile, a surgical press release from the board that made it sound mutual, peaceful, almost poetic. But behind the glass, it was blood. I didn't return to the old building. There was no need. I operated from a new floor now, different tower, different skyline. Halstead gave me everything I needed: autonomy, capital, silence when necessary, and noise when not. We announced Halstead Logistics Intelligence that same day. Press kits, slide decks, precise, elegant language, and I didn't hide this time. My name was at the top. The calls came fast. Clients, former partners, ex-employees who once whispered congratulations in parking garages now openly asked for roles. The same executives who shrugged while Lang cut my position were now forwarding their resumes. And the board? They smiled. Not out of kindness, out of relief. Lang had been a risk. I was a solution. That afternoon, I sent a personal memo to the remaining operations staff at the company I'd once held together with caffeine and duct tape. Not gloating, not revenge, just facts. You held up a structure that forgot you. That ends now. If you're ready to build something clean, something that won't collapse on your shoulders, my door is open. No politics, no ghosts, just work. 17 responses in 2 hours. By Wednesday, the internal audit team, the same one Lang had kept at arm's length, released a quiet report. Not public, but strategic. Terms used: willful misdirection, unauthorized sales, breach of internal protocols. They didn't name him. They didn't have to. Lang was now a cautionary tale, whispered in corridors, dissected in MBA classes. Meanwhile, I was busy, not basking, building. Because once you've been erased, the only thing that matters is architecture. By the second month, Halstead Logistics Intelligence had a waiting list. Partners, cities, startups, even old rivals who once called our operation overbuilt were now asking for pilots, blueprints, insight. Funny how fast the tide shifts when your name's on the right kind of email thread. But I didn't rush. We didn't scale for applause. We built for control. Everything Lang skipped, I enforced: compliance from day one, dual verification systems, no vendor without back-channel inspection. We rebuilt our architecture from the ground up, no legacy code, no hidden folders, nothing that whispered "trust me" without proof. It was cold. It was clean. It was mine. Nicole joined the second week. She walked into my office, glass walls, sunlight slicing across the floor, and said, "Feels weird not lying to anyone." I smiled. "Feels like we've got room to breathe." She placed a folder on my desk. Lang's name came up again, she said. "How?" "A podcast, Insider Finance. Someone mentioned an ex-executive currently lobbying international buyers with stolen tech decks." I nodded. "So he's still pitching Foundry." "Under a different name," she confirmed. I opened the folder. New branding, new logos, same bones. The framework was unmistakably mine. And I realized something. He didn't stop because he was caught. He just lost the stage. I closed the folder. "Let it go," I said. Nicole raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" "He wants a chase. We don't give him one. He's already erased. He just hasn't felt it yet." We moved on. The next client was a public agency, large, bureaucratic, resistant. But we handled it. Not because we were aggressive. Because we were undeniable. We weren't just logistics. We were order, proof, precision where others offered chaos. That month, a journalist reached out, the same one who broke the Foundry leak. Her message was short. "Do you want to talk now?" "The full story." I replied, "There is no story. There's only infrastructure." She didn't write back. Good. I wasn't interested in narrative. I was busy making sure no one could ever write me out again. The final move came quietly, like most real power shifts do. Halstead secured an exclusive infrastructure deal with Eastbridge Transit, a billion-dollar operation notorious for corruption, inefficiency, and public scrutiny. For years, they'd been a punchline in late-night monologues. Late buses, missing shipments, ghost expenses. And now they were mine to rebuild. Not symbolically, contractually. The deal gave us full operational oversight for 5 years. Auditable, transparent. All led by the team Lang once dismissed as too inside to lead. I reviewed the contract in my office, same sunlight, same glass, and felt none of the triumph people expect. Just clarity. This was what Lang never understood. Legacy isn't what you build loudest. It's what you structure well enough to survive silence. Nicole walked in as I signed the final page. "It's done," I said. She looked over my shoulder, then out the window. "You think he knows?" "I think he feels it," I said. "He just doesn't know what he's feeling." I'd heard rumors. Lang was in Dubai, or Lisbon, or hiding in someone else's boardroom under an alias, trying to raise money with a deck he didn't write. But he wasn't in the conversation anymore. Not where it mattered. That night, Eastbridge held a press event. I didn't speak. Nicole did. She talked about systems, about how logistics wasn't magic. It was math, discipline, and structure that holds chaos by the throat. They called her brilliant. I stood in the back, watching, listening, not fading, positioning. After the event, someone approached me, tall man, maybe in his 60s, expensive suit, government lapel pin. "You're the one who turned the fire into a blueprint," he said. "I just stopped patching holes and built a new floor," I replied. He handed me a card. "Next year, there's going to be a vacancy, cabinet level, infrastructure and systems. You'll be considered." I pocketed it. Didn't smile, didn't blink. He walked away. And I just stood there. Not a VP, not a footnote, not the guy who was fired at a gala, but the one they now came to when they didn't want anything to fall. Again. The office was quiet at night. No meetings, no calls, just the hum of systems doing what they were built to do. I stood by the window, looking out over the city. Somewhere below, someone was making a bad decision. Somewhere else, someone was getting erased without knowing it yet. But up here, it held. Nicole passed by on her way out. "Heading home," she said softly. "Get some rest," I replied. She paused. "You ever think about that night? The message?" I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "Yeah, sometimes." She waited. "And now?" she asked. I turned back to the window. "Now I'm glad he sent it."